Welcome back to Reversing Narcissistic Abuse. Don't just heal narcissistic abuse, reverse the narcissistic devaluation. Today we're going to be talking about how the narcissist completely destroys your reality. And I have a question for you. Is there a way to completely and permanently stop the pain? I think yes, there is. We will talk about that, and that is what this channel is all about. Hi, my name is Mike, and if you're new to the channel, this channel is about not just healing from narcissistic abuse trauma, but getting underneath, beyond all of the stuff that you've heard before, all of the stuff you've heard from therapists, from psychologists, psychiatrists, from all of the coaches and all of the well-meaning counselors, and we're going to go beyond all of that. I have been dealing with this my whole life, but I especially have been working on it the past few years. In the past couple of years, I have run into a completely new way of interacting with this. But the first thing that we need to do is get underneath what narcissistic abuse trauma really is, because I haven't heard anybody really get underneath to what it really truly is. They stay on the surface talking about the obvious things. So as I say, it's not just about healing narcissistic abuse trauma, because that just brings you up to ground zero. What we really need to do is reverse what's underneath the narcissistic abuse trauma, which is the narcissistic devaluation. And that is a programming. So we need to reverse. Reversing the narcissistic devaluation programming is a much more complete and a much faster way to heal than trying to heal the narcissistic abuse trauma from the top down. And as I've shared, most of the modalities that try to do that fail. Anyway, we're going to be talking about some of that, but what we need to do is, again, go back and take a look at what is narcissistic abuse. But today, we want to take a look at how the narcissist completely destroys your reality. It is a very thorough, surgical attack on your reality. Your reality becomes completely, totally dismantled so that you can't function. And then the narcissist recreates your reality so that you are completely bonded to them, even when you know that you're miserable and you know that they are destroying you. So we're going to unpack all of that. Before I do that, let me just let you know what you can do to get more out of this channel. If you go to reversenarcabuse.com, I have a video introductory series which talks about a lot of the things, especially where I'm going to be going with this channel, and introducing you to the concepts of complete and the path of total healing that I have been on. You can also go to patreon.com/reversing narcissistic abuse. And what we're going to have there, which I'm very excited about, is the Reversing Narc Abuse live Zoom question and answer discussion group. This will be held every first and third Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So to be a part of that, you need to go subscribe at patreon.com/reversing narcissistic abuse. It's patreon.com/reversing narcissistic abuse. So what we're going to be doing in that is I will be live with you. Of course, any new understandings I have, I'll be sharing with you, but I'll also be taking questions directly from you. If you want to bring specific examples from your life, past relationships, your present situation, just what's happening with you, I will then we will explore that together in a group setting, and I found that to be very healthy. So that can be found at patreon.com/reversing narcissistic abuse. And until then, go to reversenarcabuse.com and just stay on the channel. Subscribe, like, etc., etc., etc. All right, let's get back to what we're talking about, which is how the narcissist completely destroys your reality. So let's get into it. Okay, we don't want that. What is it that I'm looking for? This. So let's talk about reversing narcissistic abuse in terms of what the narcissist actually does. Let's lay it out. Let's get rid of all the emotion. Let's get rid of all the blaming and the hate and the victim mentality. Let's just analyze it and just look at what happens. Because look, you're in a huge amount of pain if you're on this channel. If not, I don't know why you're here. If everything's fine. I mean, the only reason anybody thinks about narcissistic abuse trauma is if they are carrying it. Because if you're out there enjoying your life, I know, because this was what happened with me after I healed from the borderline abuse that I went through. Once I got back to my life, I didn't need to think about it. It's one of the reasons I stopped putting time into the channel previously when it was all about healing from narcissistic abuse. But the reason why this is important to me now is because what you may not realize, what I've come to find out, is that the entire world, I'm going to repeat myself, the entire world is functioning on narcissistic devaluation programming. Now, that doesn't mean that every person in the world is suffering from narcissistic abuse trauma, but we live in a world that is based on narcissistic devaluation. Every morning you wake up, what do you got to do? You got to go to work. Why? Because you don't have value in and of yourself. You have to go earn money. Why? Because you're not allowed to just simply exist and enjoy the resources that are around you. Try to do that. They will lock you up. So from the moment you wake up, you're narcissistically devalued. You have to pay taxes. Why? Well, just because you exist. You have to have money. You have to have a credit score. You have to pay a mortgage. You have to lease a car. You have to buy a car on payments. I mean, you have to pay rent. You have to. There's no way for you to live without every day being narcissistically devalued. So that is something that most people live with without even thinking about it. But first, it's important to understand how narcissistic abuse trauma really occurs, and then we can get to the true healing. Because this healing, which you're interested in because the pain is very intense for you. But what's going to end up happening is that once you learn how to reverse the narcissistic devaluation programming, you're going to be on literally the leading edge of consciousness on planet Earth. And so what I've found is that most modalities for healing narcissistic abuse trauma don't work. If they, whatever they do it's never complete, and it's rarely permanent. So I want to get to that place so that we're not only healed, but we're actually filled with bliss and happiness and joy and peace. And that is something I have found that can be achieved. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. This is what we're going to be doing on this channel. So I hope you'll take the journey with me. So let's get started with what we're talking about today. Number one, the narcissist magnified and manipulated your deepest need to be loved. Every human has this, the deepest need. As I've talked about before, throughout history, there have been experiments that have proved this. Some people have said, nah, no way, and they think I'm full of crap, but you can look it up yourself, do the research yourself. That what kills an infant the fastest is not lack of food or lack of shelter. What kills an infant the fastest is lack of attention and love. If you do not interact with an infant, it will die very quickly. And it doesn't matter if you feed it, doesn't matter if you clothe it, it doesn't matter if you wipe its butt. If you do all of that, but you do not interact with an infant, it will die. This is guaranteed. So the narcissist is somebody who barely survived that. And now they are this walking black hole of narcissistic abuse trauma, and they're incapable of functioning without restructuring your reality to fit within their nightmare. So the first thing that they do is they magnify and manipulate your deepest need, which is to be loved. They know from personal experience how deep this wound is because they carry this wound. And because they carry this wound, they can see in you. If there's any need that you have to be loved, they will see it. They seek it out. They have a nose for it. They can smell if you need love and you need to be valued. And if you didn't get it, they're going to come after you. And the first thing they're going to do is they're going to manipulate that need. And it is let's be clear, as we've said, it's a survival need. It's a life and death survival need. And they know that, which is why they're so good at manipulating it. So number 2, the narcissist's first lie. I see and love you more than anyone else. Now we call this love bombing, but it's a horrific manipulation. Whether they're doing it consciously or not is completely beside the point. I don't want to get into that. Borderlines want to say they don't do it on purpose. And I'm like, it doesn't matter whether you do it on purpose. People want to say that the narcissist knows what they're doing and they do it on purpose. And some people say, no, they really don't. Some say some do and some don't. Depends on if they're a psychopath or whether, it doesn't matter whether they know it or not. It's still what's happening. Whether they know it or not, this is exactly what the strategy is and how it is played out. So the narcissist's first lie is, I see you and I love you more than anyone else. And they know how to give you that feeling. Now, if they're full-on, total psychopath, lunatic, then they will study you. They'll figure out what it is you like to eat. They'll listen to. They'll try and mirror you. They will spend their entire spare time figuring you out. Most of the time, they can figure out just by looking at you, just by listening to you and looking at you, because that, again, this is a survival need. So, a lot of psychics are people who are just really, really good at reading you at the deepest level. So narcissists know how to do this, especially the really dangerous ones. So the first lie is, I see you and I love you more than anyone else. And when you feel that, if you didn't get that 100% as an infant, you're going to bond to them. And this is the beginning of trauma bonding. Can't have trauma bonding without the bonding. The bonding happens with, of course, this is what's called love bombing. The narcissist's second lie. You are unlovable to everyone else. Now, they may not use those words, but the reason why I put it that way is because that is a devaluation. They need to have that trump card over you. They need to be able to have that power over you, because if their message was just, you are lovable, and you went, wow, I'm really lovable, which is what your healthy mother should have done for you, then you go, wow, I'm really lovable. I can go anywhere. People will love me because I'm really lovable. They can't have that be in your mind. They first have to make you feel that they love you completely and more than anybody else. And then they have to give you the feeling that nobody else is ever going to love you like that. Nobody else. It was an interesting thing happened to me. This had to have been 30 years ago. And I was getting a massage. And I was having a lot of regressed stuff going on in my head. And this masseuse said, wow, where is this feeling coming from in you that nobody will ever love me like my mom did? I was having problems with a relationship now I'm thinking about it. I was completely not conscious of this feeling, but the fact that this masseuse was able to feel that as she's, that was very freaky. I didn't like that. but she was 100% right. It also could have been she was a narcissist and she was trying to manipulate me. It doesn't matter. It was true. That feeling was in me that nobody will ever love me the way my mom did. Now, it turns out my mom had severe borderline tendencies. So that is a lie. You know, if a mother never says that. A true mother never says that to a child. A true mother will say, yes, I love you. I may love you more than anybody else in the world, but you're so lovable, everybody will love you. My mom gave me the feeling that nobody would ever love me like she did. And my mom was jealous of all the women that I dated. Blah, blah, blah. So that's the second lie that they say, is that you are unlovable to everyone else. Now you are really trapped. Because they love you more than anybody else. Now you're going to survive. Your survival instinct kicks in. And then on top of that, and besides that, nobody else is going to love you. They don't see you the way I do. They're not going to love you. Now you're trapped. They don't even have to build a wall or put fences around you. You're trapped because there's no place for you to go. And it's a lie. You are unlovable to everyone else. Number 4, the narcissist then suddenly finds you unlovable and rejects you. So you've been there before. They love bomb you, you get bonded, and now comes the trauma bond, the rejection. This strangely creates an even stronger bond, only with you. It wouldn't do that with a normal person. Normal people are creeped out by narcissists. They are creeped out by love bombing because they know that you have to earn that. To have that somebody just out of the blue, oh my God, I've known you forever, you're my soulmate, you're a twin flame, you know, we have a whatever that is that people are talking, we have a soul contract. You know, when you have that feeling overnight, it means it's all projection and transference and all that other stuff. And that's what happens with these borderlines. Overnight, you're up all night talking with them, sharing your soul. Oh my God, I know nobody knows you like I do. I know you better than anybody else. Oh my God, nobody's ever loved me like you do. I feel like you're the only one that can ever see me and know me. That's what a borderline will say. The narcissist will say, I can see you like nobody else. The borderline will say, you can see me like nobody else. They're the flip side of the same thing. Same issue, flip side of the same coin. So the narcissist then suddenly finds you unlovable and rejects you, and now your survival instinct kicks in. You completely lose all of your rational thinking. All of it goes away because now the person that loves you, that gives you, makes you feel okay, now is rejecting you. You've already gotten the feeling nobody else is ever going to love you. This is the only place I'll ever get love. And now, boom, you are a dog on a leash. And you are running after them, doing whatever you can to get them to love you again. And now comes the rumination. So number 5, you are now completely alone. The world can't see you. At least this is what you believe. And the narc rejects you. Number 6, the narc has imprisoned you with them. This is the imprisoning. Because what the narcissist wants is the narcissist wants you there. Even if you're miserable. Especially if you're miserable. Because then they have complete control over you. If you're only there because you love them and they love you, and if things go wrong, which happens with normal people, things go wrong, you leave, they don't have complete control over you. So they have to have that ultimate control, which is the trauma bond. And the trauma bond is first stimulated by those first 2 lies. I love you like nobody else, and oh, by the way, nobody else will ever love you like I do. That creates the initial bond, and then the rejection creates the need within you to chase after survival. And surviving is even more important than getting love. So now they've got you because now you believe that the narcissist is your survival. You don't consciously think this. Consciously, you know rationally they're not your survival. And that's why you go, why can't I leave them? You can't leave them because your nervous system says, if I don't have them, I'm going to die. Because that's what would have happened if your mom rejected you. You would have died. So, the narc has imprisoned you with him. 7, you can't leave because no one else can love you. 8, you can't leave because only the narc can truly see and love you. Number 9, the narcissist experiments to find out how much abuse you can tolerate. This is to increase the control. Because if you get comfortable, then they don't have as much power to manipulate and control you. They want you uncomfortable. They want you always on the verge of thinking you're going to die. But they know that there will come a limit. At some point, if they push you too far, you will leave. Sam Vaknin actually was caught doing this in a movie he was in, what do you call those things? A documentary. And he got caught doing that, and he explained it beautifully. He said, if you push them too far, they'll leave. So you have to know how far you can take the abuse. And then when you're about to lose them, then you go and you give them the intermittent love again. The intermittent bonding that keeps you there. So they test it out. They test to see how far because they're going to take it as far as they can, but they don't want to lose you. So they experiment. And the point about this is that it just completely, totally messes with you. This entire process completely, totally dismantles your sense of self. And you're in a war zone all the time. If you're in a war zone when bombs are dropping, you can't think straight. So you emotionally, it's the exact same thing. That's why it's PTSD. Who suffers from PTSD? People coming back from war, where you never have a chance to stop and feel safe. It's the same thing. And you go, well, it's just a relationship with a person. Yeah, but from your internal perspective, it feels as deadly to you as bombs dropping around you. And that's why part of the reason that it's so crazy making, because you look around you and there are no bombs dropping, but why do I feel that way? This is really what's going on with rumination. Rumination is when you are in just a horrific state of PTSD, and it's just ongoing and it never stops. So the narcissist experiments to find how much abuse you can tolerate. Then the narcissist uses intermittent reinforcement to keep you from leaving. Number 11, when all of your energy has been consumed, the narc discards you. So let's stop there. So if this is the kind of narcissist that discards people, because some of them don't discard you, some of them keep you. They keep you trapped with them, even though you don't have any ongoing value to them. They move to somebody else, but they keep you around. This is what happens with cults. This is what Keith Raniere did. He would bring somebody in. He would love bomb them, bond with them, and then once he got them doing what he wanted, and he'd taken whatever emotional need he had, he would then, they would be there and they couldn't leave. And then he would move on. He would, start romantically, gathering more women to him. But, he had women with him that he didn't have any romantic connection with anymore, but they were working for him. And it's because they were still bonded. They were zombies. I've run into women like this before. Now, my narcissist of choice is borderlines. Now, I haven't been with one. I've learned that lesson. So I haven't been with them. But I've since been approached a couple of times by actual narcissists. We're talking about, NPD. And what I learned in those brief interactions, which, I figured it out very quickly. But what I saw very quickly is that these people, these particular women, they amassed collections of people. By the way, this is what happens often with people who are in, multiple relationships. I forget what they call it. There's a euphemism that people use now for these for these relationships where you have multiple partners. You can be married, but you're in an open marriage, and in your open marriage, you have a live-in girlfriend or a live-in boyfriend, and you have three or four, and I had, a narcissist come looking for me and wanted me to be a part of that. And I said, I don't do that, and she kept stalking me. She kept coming after me for a long time, even after I said, I have no interest in that. But what I saw from periphery is that she had gathered people that she had consumed. She didn't discard them. She kept them around. And then when she had gotten everything she wanted from them, she'd go looking for somebody else. And she'd go looking for somebody else to bring them into her herd of people. And, so the feeling is really horrible. But this is what a lot of narcissists do. They create these herds of zombies that are completely hollowed out from the inside, but they can't leave. Again, Keith Raniere is a perfect example. He did that exact same thing. So discarding can be they completely discard you and disappear, and the next, they've taken all your money and disappeared, and you can't find them, and it just came out of nowhere. Borderlines do this. They're notorious for doing this. And other narcissists can do that. But some of them, they discard you, but they keep you around. You're just an empty shell that you can't leave, and you're not allowed to leave. If you try and leave, they will make life miserable for you. They have all kinds of things to use against you, but they don't interact with you anymore. You're just a zombie that they keep around. So, ultimately, my experience is that narcs collect zombies, whereas borderlines tend to leave bodies by the road, just, trail of bodies. And then, of course, there's, everything in between. But this is how they completely destroy your world. It's a very precise, horrific thing. And the end result is that you don't exist anymore. And so what narcissists ultimately want is they want you to feel the way they feel all the time. And when they succeed, that's when they discard you. Or that's when they put you into the army of zombies. When you feel exactly like they do, then there's nothing for them to feed off of anymore. But they also want you to experience that because they don't want to be alone in their pain. They also think that if they can, pass their insanity onto you, that they'll become sane. Of course, that doesn't work. If they infect you with their illness, they won't be infected anymore. Like they'll be able to pass it off on you. So there is a cure for narcissistic abuse trauma. So number one, going no contact is necessary, but ultimately it can't completely heal the rumination. So I hear this all the time on this channel. When we were just talking about recovering from BPD, devaluation, people would say, I've gone no contact. I don't need, they're still on the channel. They still watch the videos all the time. They still need to leave comments complaining about how horrible the borderline is. And I'm like, why are you doing this? I've given you the solution, which we'll talk about, but you haven't taken advantage of it. Well, I don't need that. I'm not with them anymore. I've discarded, I've gone no contact. And I'm like, well, if you've gone no contact, you're still talking about them. You're still, in some cases, still stalking them online. So if you're ruminating, which is what happens if you're on this channel and you're leaving, comments about how horrible the borderline is or how horrible the narcissist is, you're still with them. Maybe physically you're not with them. Maybe you're not communicating with them. Sometimes you are. Sometimes you communicate with them, but you say you're not with them. But even if you're not, if your mind is still attached and connected to them, you haven't gone no contact yet. Simply not being in their presence doesn't work because you're still in the intermittent reinforcement rumination, because that's what happens. They love bomb you. Then they push you away. When they push you away, you go into survival mode. Survival mode can appear in a lot of ways. It can appear as, oh, please don't leave me. What's happening? Where are they? How come they don't love me? But it's also when people are like, I hate them, they're the most horrible people in the world, and you know what destroys the narcissist, and the way to get revenge on the narcissist. If you see those videos, the people making those videos are still attached to their narcissist, but they're in the rumination, intermittent stage. Just like in the intermittent reinforcement, when they push you away, your survival instincts kick in and you go crazy, but you still want them. And then they come back and then you're okay. So just because somebody leaves, it doesn't matter if it's 10 years, 20 years, 30 years later. You're still in that intermittent reinforcement stage and you're waiting for them to come back. Now, you may consciously know that they've gone, so you go into a state of rage, you go into resentment, and you talk how horrible they are, and then you come up with all this lunacy about how you really destroyed the borderline, and what destroys the borderline when you reject them, or when you're going to go flip out on them when they pushed you too far. Like you have to make up this nonsense that you have some kind of control over them, which is ridiculous. They could care less. They don't care about you. Once they've discarded you, you don't exist anymore. You only exist if they can feed off of you. So if you're in that stage and you're constantly watching all those narcissists, how to destroy the narcissist, defeat the narcissist, what the narcissist is so afraid of, it's because you're still in that intermittent phase. And that's okay. This is a real thing. It really does happen. And it's important that you understand how horrifically you have been hollowed out, destroyed. It has been an absolute attack on your complete essence. That is not something you're making up. Maybe other people can't understand it. I understand it. But I encourage you to achieve what I have achieved and what I'm continuing to achieve, which is complete healing from this. And this is what this channel is going to be about. But this is we're just getting through the basics of it so that you have an understanding of what's really going on and where we're going. So going no contact is necessary, but ultimately can't completely heal the rumination. Number 2, working on yourself only results in living in your own wounded echo chamber. Again, I've been doing this channel a long time. People say, I just need to work on myself. I've been working on myself for the past 5 years. I'm mostly healed, but it's meaningless. You are not, if you have been damaged by a narcissist, I'm telling you, you are not in your complete mind. You don't have access to your objective mind. This is why when we talk about the quantum shift, human beings are meant to be quantum beings. What the narcissist does is the narcissist completely destroys your ability to operate from a quantum level. When you are in that state where your quantum thinking has been destroyed, it's impossible for you to work on yourself. It's impossible. Working on your shadow self, especially when you're doing it by yourself. If you're doing it with a therapist, you're going to have more success, but as we're going to find out, therapy doesn't ultimately work. If you're doing 12 steps, you're going to have a lot more success, and you're going to get back to square one, but you're still going to be living in a society, in a world where you are narcissistically programmed and devalued. We'll talk about that more as time goes on. But if you're on here because you have been narcissistically destroyed, working on yourself is just spinning your wheels. Nothing's really happening. Sorry. I wish I could tell you otherwise. I know you take a lot of pride in that. I've been working on myself. I've been self-examining. Somebody left a message on here. I don't believe in the 12 steps, but I do step 4 all the time because I'm self-examining. That's not what the 4th step is. The 4th step has nothing to do with being introspective. It has to do with getting rid of your resentments in a very specific way. And I'm getting off topic here. So working on yourself only results in living in your own wounded echo chamber. Number 3, a new relationship cannot override the rumination and intermittent reinforcement. When you are discarded, you are in a hamster wheel. The flywheel, it won't stop. You are an intermittent reinforcement. I don't care if it's been 5 years, 10 years. I don't care if you're full of hate. I don't care if you tell me that they don't have control over me. I hate them. I'm gonna dance on their grave. If you talk like that, you're an intermittent reinforcement. It doesn't matter if they die. You'll still be in intermittent reinforcement unless you know how to stop that. Because remember, if that was possible, if it was possible for you to go, wait a minute, what the heck is happening? I'm done here. You would have left. You would have left the first time that they abused you. You would have said, I'm out of here. That's not what happened. The abuse made you cling to them even stronger, want to please them even more. You went into a state of panic because your survival was on the line. So just because you're not with them, it's not going to change the fact that that flywheel is still going and you can't stop it. So working on yourself only results in living in your own wounded echo chamber. Number 3, a new relationship cannot override the rumination and intermittent reinforcement. Another example, a guy on the channel, always coming back, didn't want to do the work. I told him what to do to heal. He didn't want to do that. Kept on coming back and kept asking the same questions, by the way. He would ask me, how do I get over the rumination? And I'm like, I already told you how to do that. I gave you the answers to that. Yeah, I don't want to do that, but, and then I would say something along the lines of, so you're still attached to this other person? They'd say, no, I'm not. I'm actually married. I'm married and I have kids in another, and I'm like, and I've been in this marriage for X amount of years, and I'm like, you're just making the point for me. You're married to somebody else who apparently loves you and takes care of you, and you've got kids with them, and you still can't stop thinking about the person that abused you. And you want me to give you some magic pill to make you stop thinking about it. You're still in that intermittent reinforcement stage. Getting another relationship didn't distract you from it. It didn't stop it. It didn't change it. And people think when they've been damaged and they're out of the relationship, I just need to find, if I can just find somebody to love me. So what I really need to do is just find some love. No, I mean, maybe, I don't know, but I've never seen it work. Until you stop the rumination, stop the interrupted intermittent reinforcement pattern that you're stuck in. Unless you're able to pull that apart, which can be done with the 12 steps. Until you do that, you can't even begin to learn how to heal. You haven't even started. And unfortunately, most people that I've observed who have been damaged by narcissistic abuse trauma, many of them in their entire lives have never experienced their true selves. They've been in that hamster wheel because they lived through it as kids. It's the same process, but you were a kid. So, we need to come back to square one first, and then from after that, we can then go and reverse the narcissistic devaluation program. Again, we're going to tackle all this on this channel. So I'm giving you these lectures so that you have an understanding of what really needs to be dealt with and where we need to go. So number 4, therapy almost never completely heals the trauma and rumination. Now I'm saying almost never because I don't want to sound like I'm telling you to never go to therapy. I've been in therapy for 30 years. I've been in group therapy for 30 years, and I've since walked away. And the reason is because it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's not that there can't be some improvement. I improved, the first 10 years I healed a lot. After that, it was just spinning my wheels. And I've seen people who now bear in mind, I've taken paths of action. I've done 12-step recovery as well as specific spiritual practices and all that kind of stuff. So I was taking very clear paths of action while going to therapy, and the two of them worked really well. But therapy by itself, in my experience, I haven't seen it work. That isn't entirely true. I've seen it work in people who have personality disorders. So narcissists, and especially borderlines who do DBT therapy. But again, DBT therapy is a program of action. It's not just talk therapy. There are actions involved. And DBT therapy with the DBT workbook, the two of those things together, along with DBT group therapy, I've seen that work. I've seen that work in borderlines and actually give them the ability to have relationships. Now, don't go running after your borderline trying to get them to do that, because they got to do that on their own, and you have to not be a part of that. So you still go no contact. If they get healthy and come back in 10 years, you guys can talk it over. So I want to be clear about that. I do see therapy work for people who have personality disorders, but only certain therapies that involve actions like DBT workbooks, and that kind of stuff. 12-step work with non-disordered people because it's a program of action. 12-step programs do create healing of the traumatic relationships. So let me be clear about that. So on this channel, when I said I've been completely cured of the narcissistic trauma of my relationship, what I meant by that is exactly what I said. I didn't say I was completely cured of all narcissistic abuse trauma, because I still had the root trauma from my upbringing. Now, the 12 steps continue to give me healing about those in an incremental way. What I was trying to say is that, I no longer was obsessed with my borderline ex. I no longer had to talk about her. I wasn't angry at her. I wasn't resentful. I didn't miss her. I didn't feel mostly healed. I felt completely 100% healed. I never had to think about it again. In fact, I have to think about it to remember what her name was. A lot of people, when I say that, they say I'm lying, I'm full of crap, but I mean it. That's how much I healed from that relationship. I got my life back. And I was able to, I even learned a lot from it by working the 12 steps on that relationship, especially steps 4 through 7, over and over and over again. I got to the place where, in very, very quick, within a couple of months. And every person on this channel that has followed my one thing, they end up saying the same thing. Now, having said that, the 12 steps does not, at least, I don't know how many lifetimes it would take, but the 12 steps does not completely get rid of the original trauma of your childhood. So it puts you back at ground zero, and again, you're still living in a world that functions on narcissistic devaluation programming. You're just not consumed by it, and you're not completely, totally obsessed and ruminating over one person, or mourning about it, or full of rage at them, or any of that. You're not filled with bitterness and pain. You're able to function and happy, but there's still that original wound that never really goes away. And I used to say that. I used to say, that wound will never go away. I don't say that anymore. And the reason I don't say that anymore is because I have been working with a new way of doing that, which is, and number 6 here, nothing in the third dimensional earth can reverse the narcissistic devaluation programming. What I've come to find out is that the world itself functions on narcissistic devaluation programming. Even if you're healthy people walking around on 3D Earth are still narcissistically devalued, because this three-dimensional Earth functions on the frequency of narcissistic devaluation programming, which is real simple. You don't have value in and of yourself. Maybe you do with your friends, you do with your pet. Your pet loves you for who you are. You don't have to do or be anything. Your pet loves you. But if you want to function in the world, you're going to have to show up. You're going to have to give something that's outside of you, usually money or sex or power or influence. You're going to have something along those lines to be able to get anywhere in this world, even if you're not, suffering from narcissistic abuse trauma. So there is an effective strategy for permanent healing, and it is creating a quantum identity shift. I've never seen this anywhere. I've never even seen it in the spiritual practices I've done, even though those spiritual practices lead you toward it. But I have been working with this for the past couple of years, and the changes, it's nothing that I've ever seen or experienced anywhere. And I have healed myself of things that I thought would never go away. And that's after working all the 12 steps and getting back to ground zero and being completely free of the narcissistic abuse trauma, being completely healed of that. Going beyond that, because again, narcissistic abuse trauma is over here. Narcissistic devaluation programming is over here. And as I said, everybody, every human being operates from narcissistic devaluation programming, whether they realize it or not. But narcissistic devaluation is very simple. It's that it says you don't deserve, that you don't have value simply because you exist. You have value because of what you do, how you look, who you're related to, etc., whatever. There's something that's either superficial, arbitrary, or completely out of your control that you must bring to the table in order to be valuable to the world. And quantum identity shifting flips that completely on its head. And when you have a quantum identity shift, you then become, your value is only in one thing: your existence, your conscious existence. And in fact, from a quantum perspective, there is literally nothing you can do which will make you more lovable than you already are. In fact, it goes even further. From a quantum perspective, you are infinitely lovable. You are the most lovable conscious being in existence. This isn't just an idea, it's an experience. People who have had near-death experiences come back and talk about this. And there have been no shortage of people who have near-death experiences who are dying of things like, chronic cancer or something, some completely lethal disease that it's impossible to heal from. They die, they go and have a near-death experience, they come back, and when they come back, they will tell the doctor, "I'm going to be healed." The doctor goes, "I don't know." And then the doctor says 5 days later, "You're completely healed." He says, "Yeah, I know." It's because they've had a quantum identity shift, and they know from experience the absolute overwhelming bliss of knowing your true conscious identity. You can call it the soul if you want. But this is outside of our third dimensional understanding. This is why nothing else in the third dimension will ever give you complete healing, even if you've been narcissistically devalued. Especially like if your parents didn't give you what you needed, that black hole's never going to go away. Even people who have personality disorders, borderlines, who have gotten enough healing and recovery that they can be in relationships. They never get rid of the splitting, they never get rid of the pain, they never get rid of the emptiness inside, because it's inside of the third dimension. But I am here to tell you from my own personal experience that it is my belief that everybody can have a complete and total healing, but only if you are able to have that quantum identity shift which reverses the narcissistic devaluation programming. We're going to be talking about this on this channel, and I'm going to be giving you tools. So, anyway, that's all I wanted to talk about today. As always, I went far longer than I thought I would. If you want to get more information to understand this more, to the introductory material, go to reversenarcabuse.com. More materials will be brought there. If you want to be part of this Reversing Narcissistic Abuse live Zoom Q&A discussion group, where we will talk about quantum shifting, and I will share with you what I've experienced and you know, what quantum shifting is, then you can go and subscribe at patreon.com/reversing narcissistic abuse. And yeah, of course, continue to subscribe to this channel. So I don't know how far this stuff is going to go. It's going to depend on the response I get from this. My hope is that, you know, more and more people will continue to come back. You know, the interesting thing about this channel is I haven't been doing anything in this channel for a couple of years. I stopped for a year. I did a few more things, and then I walked away for another year. This channel still continues to grow, even though I don't do anything. Everything, you know, it continues to get more views, more people subscribing, you know, all that stuff. So hopefully now that I'm, you know, sharing with you what my real passion is now, and we'll see, hopefully this channel will take off. One last thing I want to invite you to before we go. Tomorrow, today is Tuesday night, so tomorrow, Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m., I'm going to have a live guided interdimensional meditation to manifest the Solar Flash Ascension event. And that is a part of what I do. It will give you access to that higher dimensional energy, which allows you to have a quantum shift. So we get into some really crazy stuff. I'm guiding it. I guide you through the meditation. It's a guided meditation. You just simply follow along. People are having crazy powerful experiences. And again, quantum shiftings, you know, can happen instantaneously. So I invite you to that live guided interdimensional meditation. And that is at the Thunder Wizard channel, which is at Thunder Wizard, or you can just go to YouTube and just type in Thunder Wizard, and you can be a part of that. So that's every Wednesday and every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. live guided, live streaming meditation. That's it. It's a lot of stuff, but that's it. All right, so I'll see you guys soon. A lot more stuff to come. And of course, the more you respond, you know, if I get good responses, I'm going to do it. If nobody responds and nobody wants me to go this, I'll walk away and do something else. So if you're interested in this, subscribe, like, comment, let me know. Go to narcabuse.com. Let me see some movement there. If you subscribe to the live Q&A at Reversing Narcissistic Abuse at Patreon, I'll know you guys are interested. I will put as much energy into this as you are interested in. You know, your level of interest will determine how much I put into this. So I hope you will like it and respond. All right, I'm going to shut up now. That's it. Thank you so much. I will see you guys all very soon. Please take very good care of yourselves. And remember, you have value. You are lovable simply because you exist. And there is literally nothing else you can do that will make you more lovable and valuable than you already are. So stop trying. All right, that's it. See you later.